Welcome back to another edition of the Knight Report podcast. I'm your host, Mike Broadbent. Joining me once again is my co-host, Richie O'Leary, and almost full-time co-host, Alec Crowdhamel at this point. This is a very sleepy reminiscence of last night's overtime game that ended right around 2 a.m. Eastern Time. Rutgers was able to win in an overtime thriller against Notre Dame, 85-84. The true coming out party for Dylan Harper, who scored 36 points. A lot of good, some bad to come out of this game. We'll get into everything that went into that game and preview tonight's matchup against Alabama. But first, this podcast is presented to you by Knight and Day Apparel. Hey, Rutgers fans, get ready to slam dunk your style with Knight and Day Apparel. Cheer on your Scarlet Knights this basketball season in our exclusive Rutgers gear. From trend-setting designs to lifestyle garments, we've got you covered with everything you need to support your team in comfort and flair. Stand out in the crowd and show your passion for Rutgers basketball with designs that celebrate every dribble, dunk, and victory. Use our promo code RutgersRivals to get 10% off your purchase. Don't wait. Head to Knight and Day Apparel today and gear up for game day. Go Knights. And I believe they're having some pretty tasty Black Friday deals too this week. So
it was out Thursday nightish, something like that.
Yep.
I'll post on the boards though when it does.
So definitely get in on that. We're also presented to you by BetOnline. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch games as they happen. With the largest selection of odds from everything from football, NBA, college basketball, NHL, UFC, and MMA. Head to BetOnline today to get on the action with the world's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline, the game starts here. All right, I think the first thing we got to talk about is Dylan Harper's performance last night. I know we had talked about the natural order of things not having come into place, clicking into place. I think it started round into form where this offense is going to be a Dylan first offense, and that's perfectly fine with me. He scored 36 points on 12 of 22 shooting, 2 of 6 from deep, 10 of 14 from the line, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, on only 1 turnover. Can't get much more efficient than that. What were some of the things that were just coming to your mind as you were watching Dylan carve up Notre Dame's defense last night? Rich, I'll let you go first.
He just has such a crazy finishing ability. Like even the one towards the end of the game where he missed and it kind of just rimmed out. I didn't think he was going to be able to get these like shots off, and it's just incredible. It doesn't matter how big or how lengthy or how tall the other guy is defending him. He's able to basically just do one cut on the guard up top at the top of the key, and it's just right to the rim. You saw on that one dunk towards the end of the game, like no one wanted to challenge him on that one. That's just a poster waiting to happen, basically, too. I think he's more athletic than people give him credit for. I think that was a knock on him out of high school. But I think he's kind of proven that he is more athletic, but his finishing ability is just at a different level. He also has the ball on basically like a yo-yo. It's just like he can do anything. He can play passer first, and this is where the James Harden comparison comes into play. He can play pass first guard. He can play off-ball guard. He could play straight up, I'm going to be the scorer, and that's what he did last night. He was just absolutely phenomenal, but his touch around the rim it's incredible. It's next level. It's NBA level good. Like you don't see guys like this ever at Rutgers. Like it's just there's no other way to describe it. It's just scary good. Scary hours.
How about you, Alec?
Yeah, just his control of the game. It just shows out every single time he has the ball, whether it's, him going to the rim or trying to set someone up. I mean, he had that cross-court pass to Jeremiah Williams to get that big three I forget if it was to take the lead or to extend the lead, but still, I mean, just setting up that cross-court pass, very impressive. He was responsible for 18 of the Scarlet Knights' 29 made field goals. 12 shots and 6 assists, and that's just insane, especially as a true freshman playing in his, 6th or 7th career college game, playing 39 minutes. It didn't seem like he really got tired at all. He picked up he got those 2 early fouls, and Steve Pikiell, he trusted him. You don't see that a lot from freshmen. You don't see that a lot where they pick up 2 fouls and you trust him to take him out and then put him back in after 2 minutes he sat. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just his control of the game is something that I have not seen from a Rutgers player, I don't think ever. Just with the ball in his hands, without the ball in his hands, like Richie said, his ability to just get to the rim and convert. It felt like there were so many times where he just said, I don't think these guys can stop me, I'll just take it. And that's what he did. He splits through the middle of the defense and just converts on a layup at the rim. And yeah, it's just, it's unbelievable the talent that Rutgers has in both Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey, who didn't exactly, didn't have his best night last night, but we saw the shot making on a couple of occasions. He just nailed a step back three, and then he hit that clutch mid range to take the lead late in regulation. Just the pure talent, the high end talent that they have on this team is unreal. And then Dylan Harper, in particular, really showed it tonight or last night, I guess.
Yeah, in the past, so Dylan had 2 fouls in the first 6 minutes of the game. In the past, when guys like Cliff would get 2 fouls early, they're sitting until like the under 8 media timeout at minimum. And Dylan came in, like you said, 2 minutes later. I also think it's quickly becoming evident there's like two different standards for shot quality on this team. Dylan, some of the shots he takes, like if anybody else on the team and maybe anybody else in the country took the kind of shots he took around the rim sometimes with, how he's falling away with either his right or left hand, he is able to get so much English on the ball when he needs it. He's able to bounce it off the glass high, off the glass low. Like he has like such an innate feel around the rim that you don't see for most guards in the world. So when he's taking a shot, 95% of the time it's a clean look, even if it doesn't look that way. And if anybody else took that shot, it would just be a bad shot for the most part. Now, I do think it was interesting how they ended up breaking down not the rotations, but just who played the most. So there was 4 guys who played over 30 minutes last night, and there was Jordan Durkak, who came off the bench and played 34. He was fantastic. We'll get into him more in a minute. Jeremiah Williams also played awesome last night, 30 minutes from him. Ace played 36. He also got into foul trouble. He had 2 fouls in the first half. And then the obvious one was Dylan. Out of those 4 guys, who was like the second best player on the court in your guys' opinion? And take a different one if the first person says it. So, Alec, who was the second best player on the court last night for you, in your opinion?
I think I would have to say Durkak. Mostly because of his combination of being on offense and defense. I thought he had some really good defensive possessions, and I think he just brings the energy on offense, really, and on offense and defense, both sides of the floor, really, every time he's out there. There are things that I would like to see to improve from him. Like, it feels like whenever he's at the rim, when he's not, full head of steam going downhill at the rim, he kind of falls away a lot, which leads to some not great looks. I wish he would fix that. I was surprised to see him not only take 5 threes, but hit 2 of them. Those were huge in the first half to really start to get that run back into the game. He hit a big free throw late to make sure it was a lead that Rutgers had at the end. I think just the two-way ability of Durkak kind of put him as that second best player. I mean, Jeremiah Williams, don't get me wrong, played absolutely fantastic. He basically erased Braden Shrewsbury in the second half. For the second game in a row, he basically took his matchup out of the game. But I think Durkak's ability to do really everything on the floor. He scored he was the second highest scorer on the team with 16 points. So yeah, I go with Durkak, but I could also see the argument for Jeremiah Williams, which I'm sure Richie's going to make right now.
Yeah, that's actually who I was going with. I was afraid you were going to steal it from me, to be honest. But no, I thought Jeremiah Williams, for a guy that I've kind of hated on over the past couple games, I'm not afraid to say it. Like, he's been struggling. He stepped up big time. He was making little mid-range floaters. He was making 3-pointers. A guy that shot 20% last year from 3, shooting 22% from 3 this year, and he hit a couple clutch ones. Played really good defense. Even like that one Alaco 3 late game, I think it was the 3rd one in a row.
I think it was
he's
the one
on
that tied
top
the game.
of him. Like, he's on top of the defender. On top of the shooter. You can't get any closer. And you even see Alaco like kicking his foot out and stuff, and that's why I fell, of course. I did get nervous for a second because I was like, "Oh, that's going to be called for a stupid foul," and then it didn't. Thank God. But no, I thought he played really well. Really good rebounding, 6 rebounds, 2 of 5 from 3, 4 of 8, 10 points, and played some solid defense towards the end. And they switched him on Alaco when they needed to. Did it work? No, because Alaco was just on fire. There's just nothing you could do at that point. But I thought overall he had a pretty solid game. Just played really well, efficiently too. Now a couple turnovers, but overall, pretty solid game.
Yeah, and they went small ball for a lot of this one. Emmanuel Ogbol and Lathan Somerville played for combined 24 out of the 45 minutes in this game. So Ace was playing a lot of small ball center. Martini was as well. Played 19 minutes. Ace, I think they have to find a way to fold him into the offensive sets better, because right now he just kind of is standing around. At least last night's game, he's just kind of standing around and when he gets the ball, his instinct is just to kind of like get to the elbow or get to that like little area near the corner, but like a long two. And he hits some incredibly difficult shots, but he also missed a lot of shots. He was 4 for 12 on the night. He looked a little frustrated at times, not like outwardly like, punching the air kind of frustrated, just like, when you're not playing, if you're not seeing the ball for a scorer like him, you could miss some shots you normally would make with ease. And then, that's in your mind the next time you take that shot. I'm not worried about him long term, but I do think they need to do a better job of, having like Ace Bailey play like not a Robin to Dylan's Batman, but like be a Batman to his Batman, if that makes sense. Like they need to just do a better job getting that two-way game going between the two of them. One thing I thought was really kind of strange was how little PJ Hayes played last night.
Mhm.
PJ, he started the game and then was subbed out a couple times in the first half. With 6 minutes left in the first half, he was benched and he didn't play another minute the rest of the game. He went 0 for 2 shooting. Both were threes. He missed the front end of a 1-and-1. He had 1 rebound, 1 foul, no turnovers. What do you guys chalk that up to? Was that just like a situational based thing? Like I didn't notice any like massive gaffes he made while he was on the court. He only played 10 minutes. What was your guys' take on why PJ didn't really play last night?
I'd say Notre Dame's a little bit more athletic, and it's hard for PJ's not as quick and sure-footed as, let's say, Jeremiah Williams, Jordan Zerkak, Dylan Harper even. And I think when you have that athleticism in those guard spots, in those top 3 spots in the backcourt, it's hard to defend if you're PJ Hayes. On top of that, he's not really getting rebounds. They're kind of pushing him around a little bit down low, so he can't really guard like Keba Ng. He couldn't guard him. He wouldn't be able to guard, I forget the other big man's name, Chukabar, whatever it was. Tall, lengthy dude. So it's hard for him to get around him. And like that's what he was known for the past couple games, has been his rebounding. Just wasn't able to do it last night. So I would say it's just a combination of not being able to really get rebounds over the big men on top of not being able to really guard some of their guards.
Yeah, I would say I would at least chalk it up, I think, more of a game situation type thing. I mean, like Richie said, especially when they went, ultra small ball with the 5-guard lineup, kind of didn't really fit there. So there kind of wasn't really a true spot for him where he's, at his best position wise and matchup wise. So I think, I'm not sure how this will translate to tonight's game, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a little bit. But I don't think this is a harbinger of the future that like PJ is going to play like, 8 minutes a game or something like that. I think he'll be back in his usual rotation spot. I was surprised to see him get the start in the first place. I was happy he got the start because I thought he needs the ball in his hands more. But I felt like this is more of like a situational thing that I don't think is going to be, the norm for the future.
I'd agree. I do think the unsung hero last night, though, is Tyson Acoff. I've kind of talked about how he just kind of looks like he plays at a different speed on the court, but I feel like last night he was a steadying force with that kind of play style. He was only 2 of 5 from the field, 1 of 3 from 3-point range. He hit both of his free throws, but he led the team in rebounds in only 25 minutes played with 7. He had an assist and a steal, only 1 foul, no turnovers. He's just kind of a guy who can get a bucket when you need him to, and he just is very mature, knows where he needs to be on the court. Very unselfish, just exactly the type of player this team's going to need for sure. He also led the team in he was second on the team in offensive rebounds as well. So I thought he was way better than I think the stat sheet would indicate. How about you guys?
Hat tip to Alec for that one. Really early tweet on that one for the Tyson Acoff praise. No, I thought he played great. He's starting to round into form. He's starting to look healthier. He's moving around more. Now I'm intrigued to see how he can get more involved scoring other than just being a spot up 3-point shooter, because he does have the ability to score. We've seen it, of course, number 8 in the country last year in scoring. But if you can get him going, make him more of a 6-man role, that's what we kind of thought he was going to be growing into the season, but that broken foot kind of threw everything for a loop. But I think there's a good chance that he's starting to get healthy, and there's a good chance that he can start becoming that like 8, 9, maybe even not 10 points per game, but maybe a 10-point game here and there.
Yeah, I was really impressed with his defensive intensity throughout the game, especially, when he came off the bench to start out as well. Like, he's on the perimeter, he's really fighting hard over these screens, trying to stay in front of his man. And then, like you said, the rebounds, 7 rebounds to lead the team. I don't think anyone expected that coming into this game. Just really impressive effort for him. And he was really, I think, obviously, Dylan Harper was the best player on the floor, but I think he was what made that 5-guard lineup successful. Having that guy that he's 6'5", having him be able to get those rebounds and stay in front of his man on defense. And in 25 minutes too. Like, I don't know. I don't know if we've heard much, but I don't think he's fully 100% yet. But I mean, playing 25 minutes out there in a crazy back and forth game like that, high pace, a lot of shots going up. I think it's really encouraging on how he's progressing.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything you said. I think we got to tip our hats also to Matalaco, who single-handedly kept Notre Dame in that game. When Rutgers went up by 6 with less than a minute left, just felt like the momentum had kind of all shifted. Rutgers forced a few turnovers, was hitting their free throws. And then it just became the Matalaco show the last 50 seconds of the game, hitting really tough threes, tying the game up, and Rutgers was thankfully able to hold on. It felt like that final shot with less than 4 seconds left. They designed a play to get him the ball. He was the inbounder. They designed a play to get him the ball back really quickly. Got a clean look. It just didn't go in. Thankfully, he actually missed a shot. But man, can you imagine him on this team too? Like, Rutgers was a finalist for him, along with Ohio State and Notre Dame.
But then Zach you don't Martini, get their tech, so
yeah, or you don't get PJ Hayes,
or someone, yeah. But different team.
I thought they played well. I think defensively, there's still a lot of things to clean up. There was a lot of clean looks. Like, I don't know if it was switches that were missed or just blown assignments, but a lot of open looks for a lot of players on Notre Dame around the rim that hopefully they'll clean up, because tonight they have a juggernaut in Alabama they have to play. Alabama won in overtime as well against Houston last night, 85-80, right before Rutgers played. And I mean, I tweeted about this, that the silver lining for this game starting an hour late is that it's because the team we're going to play today is in overtime. And that might be a slight advantage to us. And sure enough, we play a more physical game and go to overtime as well. So I think that washes out. How do you guys feel about this matchup? Obviously, we're going to be playing against Cliff, which will be interesting. You only played 17 minutes last night in that overtime game. So 17 out of 45, so like a third of the minutes. How do you guys feel confidence-wise going into the Alabama game? Rutgers is either a 9.5 or a 10-point dog, depending on the book. So they are not expected to win. Probably puts Rutgers at like a 1 in 6 chance based on the odds. How do you guys feel about it?
Not confident. I mean, this is Rutgers' team that's not rebounding very well. Alabama does the complete opposite. They have 47 plus rebounds per game. I think they have multiple guys, or maybe not 47. I think I did the math wrong in there, but they have 40-something rebounds per game. 43. They have guys that can score up and down. Like, even when Mark Sears is off, they're still good. Even when Grant Nelson's off, which he hasn't been at all, they're still good. Actually, like Aiden Holloway, like they just have so many dudes on that team that can put up numbers. Like, Grant Nelson is going to be a force. I said it in our preview for this week, for Feast Week. I don't know who you guard him with. Ace, I guess you have to. Yeah, I don't really have a choice. It's going to be tough. Like, this is going to be, if you're going to waste, and like if Ace and Dylan waste all their energy on defense, you need them on the offensive end too, because this Alabama team is going to put up points. This is not going to be an easy one. There's a reason why the spread is 160 plus or 161.5 or whatever it is. This is not going to be an easy game by any means. I'm not confident, to be honest. And I think we all kind of said that going into this one regardless. That's just a really good Alabama team. They were one of the top 3 favorites going into the season to win the championship. So not going to be easy, but we've seen Rutgers pull out upsets like this before with lesser talented teams. So who knows?
Yeah, I'm not overly confident either, mostly due to the fact that this Alabama team and some of their games haven't really shot the ball particularly well from beyond the arc, and they're still putting up 100 points. Like their rotation is so stacked. You got Nazir Cunningham, and then you got Houston Millette, a guy who averaged 15 points a game in the WCC at Pepperdine 3 years in a row. They're redshirting this year. It's already been announced. So that's how stacked this rotation is. They got freshmen, they got veterans. I'm very curious to see how much Cliff actually plays in this game as well, since I wonder if Steve Peichel decides to counter with a lot more small ball like we saw last night. That might not be as big of a storyline if he doesn't play all that much, but yeah, I'm not overly confident. This Alabama team is just stacked. They know how to play their game, and they are very good at a lot of things that Rutgers is not very good at.
Additionally, they have a lot of length, a lot of guys who can score, a lot of guys who can shoot. They went to the Final Four last year for a reason. They brought back almost everybody. Very scary team to play. It'll be a good test to see how Rutgers can hold up against them. I did want to cover how the other side of the bracket did, because this is going to help determine who Rutgers plays on Saturday. So on the other side of the bracket, Texas A&M, who's ranked 20th, played Oregon. Oregon won that game 80-70. And then in a bit of a surprise, the other game was number 21 Creighton played against San Diego State. San Diego State won by almost 20, won 71-53, holding Creighton to, I think, its lowest output of the season so far. Famously, Creighton's center, Kalkbrenner, scored almost 53 himself, opening game of the season.
They still almost lost that game.
Yeah, and they still almost lost that game. That's the lowest output they've had by 10 points this season. So they're on a 2-game losing streak now. They lost to in-state Nebraska last week. Now they lost to San Diego State. They'll be playing Creighton will be playing Texas A&M today, and Oregon will be playing San Diego State. So there will kind of this, I guess, the same setup that we have, where the two undefeated teams will be playing each other. So
I will say, like, I know a basketball analyst pretty well that actually writes for a different site that I run. He basically said that he thinks this San Diego State team is better than last year's San Diego State team, and that's a Final Four San Diego State team, mind you. So I just don't want to play them, to be honest.
Yeah, neither do I. Well, they didn't make the Final Four last year. They were a Sweet 16 team.
Sweet 16.
They were a Final Four team the year before.
That's what it was. Yeah. Still a very good team, but
imagine
UConn both years too.
Yeah, imagine one of those classic Steve Peichel teams up against one of the classic San Diego State teams. I don't know if that game reaches 100 total points. I say classic because this is not a usual Steve Peichel team where, speed limit, all that jazz.
It's going to be Oregon, isn't it? Just saying.
Probably. Yeah, it's looking like they're going to play in the 5th place game, because I would imagine Houston, at least Houston's going to be favored big time against Notre Dame tonight, and the point differential will probably give the edge to Houston if they do end up doing that. So, looking like it'll probably be a 5th place game.
Yeah. See, there's just so few games that you can't even project like you normally could for a lot of sporting things. So I'm excited to watch. It was a really fun night one. I can only imagine that it was a really fun event to attend. There was a lot of Rutgers fans on TV. A lot of people have been posted in the Discord on the boards about the event. So if you're on either of those, check it out, because it sounds like it's a great time. Later today, we'll be recording a preview for the Michigan State football game. We have a podcast covering Michigan State, so stay tuned for that. It'll be released later in the afternoon. Is there anything else basketball related you guys wanted to hit on before we head out of here today?
I feel like Peichel hyped up the players era quite a bit. It sounds like almost every coach has. They're all loving it. It's an event that a lot of teams were scared of because of the logistics, and they didn't know if it was going to work or not, and that's why a lot of teams didn't sign up for it. But Rutgers did, luckily, and they're getting their $1 million NIL collective paycheck or whatever, and they have a chance. If you win tonight, you have a chance of winning another $1 million. On top of that, next year, it seems like it's only going to get harder, because they're adding Baylor, Iowa State, Gonzaga, St. John's, Michigan, Syracuse, St. Joe's. So this is going to be an event going forward that I think is going to be up there with the Maui Invitational, with I don't even know what else is going on. There's some other Feast Week games. But Maui's just always been number one. I feel like this could challenge it just because of location Vegas and because of the benefits of it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I feel like one thing we haven't even talked about is how Rutgers won this game. Like, Alako hits the game-tying three, Dylan Harper gets the inbound, and immediately gets fouled for whatever
Good
reason.
point.
Such a bad move.
Well, that's a freshman move.
Yeah, freshman who had played 8 minutes all year.
Yeah, no, I thought that's a great point. Situational awareness was not there. I still think it might have benefited Rutgers if they allowed him to just kind of drive down the court, because you know you're probably ending the overtime with a Dylan Harper shot again, just like it did in regulation, and I think it'll be something that he took closer to the rim this time. But yeah, no, it was a really tough look for Notre Dame, and it worked out kind of because we missed the front end of the free throws, and they were able to get the ball back, get a good look, and get a shot that would have won them the game outright. So. All right, well, that is all we got for today then. Stay tuned later today, like I said, for the aforementioned preview pod for the football game. Thanks to everybody who's listened, rated, reviewed, subscribed. If you haven't already, click that little bell icon or whatever it is below us on YouTube to subscribe, or whatever platform you use for podcasts. Follow us to make sure that those pods get into your feed as we release them. But for me and the guys, this has been actually, I got one last little thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Richie's got an update on the apparel deal. I know a lot of people have been asking about it. We've been kind of telling you the same thing over and over, but Richie might have a little more clarity on that now. So what do you got for us?
Real quick. So it's 100% still going to be Nike. It's just a matter of when, not if. Nike is in the middle of a dispute, or I shouldn't say Nike specifically. Rutgers is in the middle of a dispute with Adidas. Adidas is kind of saying like it's a breach of contract. Now, I know you're going to say this. There's no contract technically, because they were buying stuff on the low for a cheap deal, whatever the hell it was. There's a lot of background stuff going on because Rutgers technically was going to be with Adidas because Adidas was going to up their ante and make them like a higher tier, like the highest tier that you could for the East Coast, and they were going to be their East Coast premier school and that blah, 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 all that other nonsense. They were going to get this, they were going to get that. We've said it before. They were going to get the Fear of God uniforms that I think Miami and Indiana had last year. And we've already seen players wear the Fear of God shoes this year too, which is interesting. So Adidas was going to go all in, and they sounded like they were going to sign with Adidas, and that's what Pat Hobbs was doing. He was going to sign with them, and good to go. Now, obviously, Dylan and Nike, Ace and Nike. Ace was also courted by Adidas, or Reebok, and New Balance. He ended up choosing Nike in the end. That throws everything for a loop because these kids want to wear Nike. So there wasn't a Nike deal back in the day, but now there is a Nike handshake in place, I should say. It sounds like, and Nike is going to be the sponsor, but now Adidas is pushing back legally and trying to say breach of contract. They're trying to institute a bunch of fines saying, hey, you were Adidas school, you can't be wearing Nike, we just told you this. But I think in the end, Nike will probably never lose a court battle to just about anyone, especially Adidas. So it's going to be Nike. Nike's ready to go. They have the jerseys ready to go, apparently. They have the templates are good to go. They have a very basic uniform compared to what they have now. They also have the old school and retros, I was told, so something to keep an eye on. They seem ready to go as soon as this deal strikes. That I have a feeling the very next day, they will be outfitted in the swoosh, up and down. So interesting to see, and I'm intrigued that no one else has really wore Nikes too. I feel like it's interesting that no one else has kind of went with this loophole. But free shit, why not take the Adidas stuff, right?
Yeah, cool. I don't get it either, but I'm glad that it seems like it's close to a resolution there, because
Thank God.
I'm just kind of tired of it. We've been talking about this barrel deal for how long now? Years.
Yeah, basically.
But all right, well, thanks once again for listening. For me and the guys, this has been another edition of the Knight Report podcast. Signing off.